Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, obviously we know we're getting ready to play the, Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. We play Thanksgiving every single year. And typically every single year, it's usually limited to a couple of opponents that we will typically play on Thanksgiving. Packers are one, Vikings, Bears, Cowboys are another, and sometimes we'll have an oddball team thrown in there like the Colts. But typically it's one of those 4 teams that typically play on Thanksgiving throughout the course of however long the tradition's been going on. But when it comes to this particular Thanksgiving game, we have to sit down and we have to analyze that even though the Lions are going to be at home, which is clearly an advantage, even though the Lions are going to be inside of their own natural element, which is playing indoors, playing in a dome, playing in front of their home fans, that's all an advantage for the Lions. There is one very distinct disadvantage that the Lions have going against them. And it absolutely is something that is really a distinct advantage for the Packers. Now, what exactly am I referring to here? It's actually a very simple concept. It doesn't take a whole lot to understand it, but the impact of it is particularly, it's particularly big. Let's understand what happened on Sunday. And that will really give you an indicator of where I'm going with this. What did the Packers do? They played a game just like we did. They played against the Minnesota Vikings. They played 4 quarters. They won their game. Okay. What about the Lions? The Lions, they played a game on Sunday too. They played against the Giants. They won their game. But they did not play 4 quarters. In reality, they played closer to 4.5 quarters or almost 5 quarters. Y'all starting to see where I'm going with this? Y'all starting to kind of understand where all this is coming into? Football is a sport that if you've played it, you realize that you need ample time to rest, recover, recuperate. Especially after you've gotten done playing a game and, your body is completely spent. You've used all of your muscles trying to, do whatever it is you need to do, whether it's running routes, whether it's, blocking, whether it's tackling, whatever have you. Well, here's the thing. Most people, when they play a football game, an actual football game, I'm not talking two-hand touch or any of that nonsense, I'm talking actual fully padded football, you normally will need at least a day or two before you can physically be able to go back out and, at least start getting back into the rhythm of things. And that's typically what will happen when, on football for when you're back in high school. You'll play a football game typically Friday, and then you have Saturday and Sunday to recover, and then back on Monday you're back at practice. Same thing typically happens in college, though it's typically on Saturday night, so it's like, okay, you get Sunday off, and then you're back Monday. NFL, it's a little bit differently. And the reason why it's different is because they have games that literally span from any number of days. It can be on Thursday, it can be on Sunday, it can be on Monday. And then now with all the other freaking, things that are going on, we've seen games that are on Friday nights, we've seen games that are on any assortment of nights. Can even be on holiday nights, depending upon when the holidays are. Well, for the Detroit Lions, they now have to turn around and they've got to play a game literally 4 days later. But why is that a disadvantage? Well, the reason it's a disadvantage is not because of the fact of the 4-day turnaround time. The Lions are used to that. They play Thanksgiving every damn year, so they're used to that tradition. What they're not used to doing is having to do that turnaround time with an extra quarter of football played the previous week already notched on top of that belt. You have to think about it here. The Packers are coming in with the same game that they just played literally 4 days prior as well. But they're doing it with one less quarter of wear and tear on their bodies. They're doing it with one less quarter of having to recuperate from, whereas the Lions are. Now, let's just call it for what it is. That's nobody's fault except for the Lions. That's nobody's fault except for the players. It's nobody's fault except for the coaches, because rather than taking care of business and putting the game away early, putting the game out of reach to where we didn't have to go to overtime, the Lions then had to play, in essence, an extra 10-minute period to then try and figure out who was going to win that game. Now, granted, they didn't play the full 10 minutes. They played, I think, about 6 minutes of the 10 minutes. But still, that's an extra 6 minutes of football, both offense, defense, special teams, the whole 9 yards, where they had to physically go up against another professional team to try and determine who won that game. Whereas the Packers, on the other hand, they were already sitting nice and cozy in their locker room. They were already celebrating their victory. They were already starting the recuperation process. And if there's one thing anybody should know about recuperation and recovery, the sooner you can start it, the better it is for you. Because the sooner you can get your body into those ice baths, the sooner you can get your body to being massaged and, trying to help the freaking muscles recover, the sooner you can start taking, supplements to help your body recover, the better. So when you think about it from that perspective, the Packers have a distinct advantage coming into this game because they're not coming into this game with those extra 6 minutes of wear and tear that the Lions have on it. Now, let's also further understand what this means in regards to the Lions and the Packers in regards to their injury reports. Both teams have got very large, very long injury reports this week. If I recall correctly, I think the Packers have like 16 names. The Lions have freaking 15 names. It's ridiculous. But then again, when you come to this part of the year and you're playing a whole hell of a lot of games in a couple of days, it's going to be that way. However, though, we have to understand something here. The Lions are supposed to be getting back more players for their team. Granted, it's going to all go towards the defense, which is going to be particularly Marcus Davenport and Josh Pascal. Those are the two names that were on the practice report estimate yesterday that were listed as full participants, even though it was an estimate, which pretty much bodes well that both of those guys should be available for Thursday's game against the Packers. Now, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, the Packers don't have any such thing. They don't have any players that are coming back from IR. They don't have any players that are designated to return. All of the players that they have on their injury lists have been the same for practically the last couple of weeks. Now, the one player that did come back to practice, at least in the practice estimate, that was listed as a limited participant, is Josh Jacobs. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to, make that quick turnaround and be able to suit up for the Thursday game, even though he didn't play in Sunday's game, I don't know. But what I can tell you is this. When it comes to this game, at this time of year, when you're playing this type of an opponent where it is an extremely important game, this is a game where it comes down to literally two main things. Number one, it is a battle of attrition. Pretty much, okay, who's the healthier team? Who can last longer? Who can make plays even though both teams are hurting and are beat to a bloody pulp? That's in essence what one of these things comes down to. That's number one. Number two, this game, at this point in the year, it is a battle of wills. Pretty much, who wants it more? Who's going to want this game more? And I'm going to tell you this right now. If it's that department, the Lions are definitely going to be winning that one. Because of two simple factors. Number one, The Lions are still trying to get back to where they want to be in terms of the division race and also in terms of the playoff race. That's number one. Number two, the Lions are also wanting to get a measure of revenge against the Packers for what happened in week 1 of this season. So it's like, okay, yeah, you guys got us back in week 1. Congratulations. Now it's time to rewrite the script. Now it's time to reverse script of what happened back in week 1. Now, understand exactly what I'm saying there. I'm not saying that this is going to be an easy ordeal. We know the Packers have a really damn good defense. We know they do. And they've been playing very, very good. However, though, this is also a team that is struggling on offense, perhaps even worse than what the Lions are struggling on offense. So what it's really going to come down to, in my honest opinion, is which offense, Packers offense, Lions offense, is going to be able to make more plays. Which offense is going to be able to make more plays to score more points. And as dysfunctional and as, back and forth as the Lions offense has been this year, I will say this. They have definitely scored more points than the Packers have. Not only as a total unit in terms of the entirety of the year, but on top of that, per game they have. Again, the Packers have not had many games this year where they've scored over 30-plus points. The Lions can at least say that they've got at least, 5 or 6 of them. And on top of that, they're still the only team in the NFL that's put up a 50-burger this year. And again, that was courtesy of John Morton, not Dan Campbell. So again, it's like, okay, if it comes down to which team is going to be able to make this work, because we know that both defenses can play very, very damn good football. Because we know that they have the ability to play top-end football, but we also know that there's times where they can get caught up and, they just have a really bad afternoon. The Lions just had theirs last week against the Giants. The freaking Packers had theirs a couple of weeks back when they played against the freaking Cowboys earlier in the season. So it's like, listen, both defenses play really good, both defenses play really sound, but they can be beat. The real question is going to come down to which offense makes more plays and which team is going to be able to, for lack of a better word, survive or get through the fact of dealing with all the injuries that they're dealing with. That's ultimately where this whole thing is going to come down here. Now, obviously, what we really have to pay attention to here is what the injury reports look like over the next 2 days. Obviously today and obviously Wednesday. Because that's going to give us a really, really clear indicator of, okay, who's going to be able to actually play in this game. And I'm going to tell you this right now. For the Lions, they're going to have to hope and pray like hell that, even though I know some people don't like him, they're going to have to hope and pray like hell that Graham Glasgow can step up and can still play. Because it's like, listen, we can't afford to have anybody else that's not a starter not being on that offensive line. I'm just going to call for what it is. Cade Awasika, he's done an okay job, but the last couple of games, it's like, listen, it's very obvious where he's gotten beat, and it's really screwed us over. So it's like, we can't afford to have another interior offensive lineman starter not playing in this game. We just can't. So it's like, I hope and pray for our sake, Graham Glasgow can, get back to being a limited participant and be healthy enough to play. But what I'm trying to get at here with this whole episode is that when you're talking about a short game week like what this week is, and then on top of that, you're talking about the stakes that this game is, and you're talking about everything that goes into it, the fact that the Packers have not had to play that extra quarter of football that the Lions had to, it is a big advantage for them. And it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you're just going to have to button up tight and you're going to have to dig even deeper and you're going to have to find a way to manage it and get through it and find a way to win. Now, the best part about that is that if there's one thing I know about this Lions team, there's one thing I know about Dan Campbell, is that they always seem to figure a way to do that. It ain't pretty. It ain't always the most smoothest operation, but more often than not, they figure out a way to get it done. The real question is, will they get it done? Can they get it done? That's where the whole massive question is going to come in with this whole particular week, because it's like, listen, you've only got literally 2-3 days of preparation before you're going to play this game. You're not going to have the ability to go into a full game plan like you normally would if you had a week of preparation. You're just not. So it's going to come down to, okay, how much preparation can you honestly put in on a shortened week, and on top of that while dealing with players that are not fully healthy and can't fully participate? And honestly, when it comes down to that particular conversation, it goes back to like what I said. Which offense is going to be able to make more plays against the particular defense that they're playing? My money is on the Lions offense, because even though they're dysfunctional, they are less dysfunctional and more explosive than what the Packers offense is. That's honestly what I'm looking at when it comes to this particular game. But again, it comes down to who wants it more and who's able to find a way to dig deep and be able to play through the shortened week, and plus for the Lions also playing that extra overtime period. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It is a disadvantage for the Lions, but it's not a disadvantage that they can't overcome. It's as simple as that. But anyway, folks, I've come to the end of this episode. Hopefully I've been able to explain my thoughts relatively clearly and, give you guys some insight to what I'm thinking here. So, having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you enjoyed the content and you had not yet done so already, I hope to gain your subscription. But I also hope that you'll do this. If you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not yet had a chance to do so, I want to highly encourage y'all as well. Please make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.